will start. Hope everybody is well on this beautiful spring day. We will start with roll call.
Steve Aberstrom. Keith Ritchie.
George Bennington,
Francesca Sigala.
Doug Murphy.
Hank Lee. Tim Kunkel.
Sue Leoni.
Thank you.
Gene.
Item.
Gene.
Oh, hi, Gene. How are you?
Hi.
Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our April 12th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Francesca. Second. Thank you, Keith. All those in favor? Opposed? So carried, and Gene's vote is in favor. Okay. Next is Patricia. Welcome. Now, is Tiger going to be joining us as well?
I thought he was, but
No, he's not able to.
okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
How about if I go up here so I'm not.
Sure.
It's good while we're.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Better for us.
whoever's out there, Gene, does Gene have the presentation?
No, he does not. I didn't email, I brought them, so he'll just have to listen in.
Okay, we can get it to you,
Oh,
Gene.
you want, I'm gonna email you tomorrow, Jean.
Okay, so without further ado, I am Patricia Spagani. I am on the board of the Town Players of New Canaan. I wear many hats, including lighting designer and community outreach person, with an advocate for the theater, which is why I'm here. I'm also leading the campaign, the fundraising, capital campaign for the theater. My husband and I, Joel Reynolds. Joel's also on the board, the first vice president. We are residents of New Canaan for over 25 years. No, I'm longer. He's been here 20 years. And we both started volunteering at the theater 5-6 years ago. So it's been a great adventure. We are an all volunteer nonprofit community theater. And as I think all of you know, but I think it's worth reminding because we as a theater, I don't think have been for Parks and Rec for too many times. But we're at the Powerhouse and we've been there since 1983. Town Players of New Canaan renovated the Powerhouse in partnership with the town and the community 40 years ago. So we just celebrated our 40th season there, but 76th season as Town Players. And no, I'm not that old. But we have a huge legacy and shoes to fill for the wonderful work and theater arts programs that this community has sponsored for that period of time. And we're proud to represent the theater and bring community-based theater arts to our town. So I start off by I think it's worth reading that our mission is to provide a home for live theater that enriches our community, this community, creates an opportunity for artistic expression, and is accessible to all. So all those things we take to heart, and this story presentation update that I'm going to give, I appreciate the opportunity to provide a little bit of an annual report that George asked me to do, as well as give you a status of where we are on the building project. So I think those are the two things you wanted me to cover. All right. So while many theaters around the country are struggling coming out of COVID, I am thrilled, proud, and pleased to say that we have had record audiences at the Powerhouse this past year. We did start off with the Fantastics. We did have to close one weekend because of COVID, because 2 cast members came down with COVID. It was unfortunate because it was the 3rd weekend. We do 3 weekends for each show, and 2 cast members in a sold out weekend, so we had to cancel. But otherwise, we have had between 80 and 90% full. And in the past, on average, we were at 50 to 60% audience capacity in the 115 seat theater. So we are going gangbusters. And I can say that the community is rallying to support the theater and enjoy. I think people are post-COVID are trying to figure out what they can do locally and enjoy in their backyard. And for the cost of coming to the theater, costs less than paying to park in New York City. And I would say the variety of shows we have, it's just been great, from musicals to mysteries to Joyful Noise, which is a stunning story about Handel's suicide and the writing. We had incredible sopranos on our stage, just really good performances. So we're very happy for that. This weekend coming up, Mother's Day weekend, we have one of our own Kingdom natives, Claire Ayub, is doing a one-woman show that she did on Broadway and got multiple awards for. And, you know, $25, you get to see a Broadway show on our stage. Can't beat it. So we still have tickets available. It's pretty much sold out Friday night, but Saturdays and Sunday matinees still available. So we're excited to do that. And her parents, right, who are, this Dr. Tom Ayub, is a gynecologist in town, that many of you know, and his wife, Christine Dombrowski, they're going to do talkbacks with their daughter after the show. So it's going to be very interesting. We're looking forward to that. And then in the end of June, we're doing a professional version of 12 Angry Men with 3 equity actors, which is very unusual because usually we're doing all volunteer community amateurs, but we're going to have a combination of equity actors and local artists. So we're excited about that. The gentleman who's directing and also starring being one of the, he was there were 600 performances of ordinary people of 12 Angry Men. So that's what we've got in store here. You know, any questions or comments on that? So love to see you all at the theater over the next 2 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So please come. Tickets on our website, Town Planners of New Canaan, or ppnc.org. So I go to the next slide, which was to say community involvement, as you heard in our mission statement, is very important to us. And as part of that, education, theater arts education. This theater has a history from the day it opened in 1983 of offering education. For 30 years, it was primarily student-based in terms of young adults, grade school, middle school, high school kids. We have a vision to bring that back to the Town Players. The woman, Kay Shields, who was doing that for 30 years, was great, but she retired. She had a right to retire after doing this for so long. And then we were looking for ways to get it restarted when she retired, then COVID happened, and here we are. So right now, our educational programs that we are hosting has been primarily adult education. You can see we're having an improv workshop in 2 weeks. We're doing a writers, theater script writers, playwriting workshop, and then we're doing adult acting classes, all of which have been very well received. In fact, I'll come back to the acting class in a second. But that's been going well. But hold that thought on the education because that's part of our capital plan expansion goals. So also what we're doing, Joel has hosted 2 different Eagle Scout projects at the theater, which was great. One they helped paint inside in our dressing rooms, and the other one they organized all of our accessories into wonderful bins and shelves. So that's great. We also are hosting, have for a couple of years now, hosted the holiday stroll on stage, or got that organized and got skits and whatnot together. And used, with the rock and roll group, the different kids groups, the schools, it's been something that we've produced. Because we've had success and also we've gotten local grants from the Exchange Club of New Canaan as well as the Artisans Group focused on youth education programs, we turned around and used that for scholarship and also to enable kids to come see the shows at no expense. We did that for ordinary people. So we're, it's the give to get. We're turning it around, which is good. And as part of that, the other thing we want to do is make sure that we are doing plays that are relevant to the community. We're telling stories on the stage in a way that only live theater can help get people talking and engaged. So before COVID, or just before COVID shut everything down, we did a STEM show called Rocket Girl. Some of you might have seen. We had the playwright come to town. He talked at St. Luke's. He talked at the library. Talked on stage, and it was great. And then this February, we did Ordinary People, which many of you know was Oscar-winning movie in a book. And that was really focused on being part of the conversation in the community and mental health. As part of that, we worked with the New Canaan Human Services as well as Beth and Zaro, as well as Silver Hill Hospital. And we had a benefit for the New Canaan Energy Assessment Program, which raised over $18,000. So it kicked off the investment there for being able to continue that next year. Anecdotally, Silver Hill staff told us that because we did the outreach and advertised, if you will, and promoted that program as well as other resources in the community, they know at least 3 people came and utilized that program because they became aware of it through the play. So I'm proud of that. And I know over 90 people in the community have used that program, and we personally touched 3 lives in a significant way. So if it was one, I'd be happy. We just don't know how we do something like this, how it touches people. So we are just happy to give back. And then we partnered with them. So Dr. Michael Grote, who's the chief clinical officer there at Silver Hill, he came and did talkbacks on the Sunday matinees that we had. And he also acted as a clinical advisor to the cast and helped them understand how to play their roles. And then he decided he loved the theater so much, he's taken those acting classes.
That's great.
And he's gonna do the improv class, so you just never know, Dr. Grote might be in one of our upcoming plays next season, you just never know
Great.
what's gonna work. Yeah, he had major surgery in January, and his first outing after surgery was to come to rehearsals. So, by Uber, because he couldn't drive. So anyway, it's worked out really well. So that's who we are and what we've been doing. We really want to do more. We are traditionally, the theater had done 4 main stage shows and then some play readings that we called stage 2, which have done well. This year, because we've just been very aggressive, we're actually doing 6 main stage shows, which is, all volunteer community theater. It's a lot. But we've upped the production meeting for 1,200 men to come to this meeting. So we're going gangbusters. We're really enjoying what we're doing. I think the community is reaching out and participating in that as well. But we want to do more. We don't have the space to do that, which brings us here, the partnership we have with the town. And I'd like to call out Tiger Man and John Howe, and certainly Kevin, Town Council, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance have all embraced our vision for what community theater can grow and evolve to be here in the community. So with that, after 2 years, the Town Council, all of the groups, all agreed to commit $500,000 to a project. So with that, it gives us a good boost to our fundraising for our capital campaign. The other thing that the town players was able to do is we approached the town council in February and said, we really would like to take advantage of the potting shed, which is on, I think you all know, is on the corner of the campus, the Powerhouse campus, and add that to our lease. So we have done that successfully. The potting shed is now part of our normal lease. And we'll tell you how we're planning to use that in a minute, but we're excited about that. And Steve Benko, wherever you are, please be happy with that decision. Because I think we had other ideas for building, but I think we're going to go to do this. All right, so now let's talk about the capital campaign, which is, if you turn the page, you all know it started because of bathrooms. Right, so you're looking at what our bathrooms look like now, 2 doors, 2 little bathrooms that are inadequate and very hard to get into for the theater. Building assessment that was done in the town said we need ADA compliant restrooms. So we said, how do we fit this gigantic requirement into this small space? And it really didn't fit without making the small lobby even smaller, or eliminating the lobby. So one thing and another, and multiple designs and multiple architects, we came up with the design, which I think you all are familiar with because I was here last year to talk about it. And just to remind you what that is, we have a nice rendering on the next page. So what am I looking at? Page 7. Right, we have a nice rendering, and we'll have extend the peak over the courtyard There will be a post and beam structure with a metal roof, standing seam metal roof with glass walls and an alcove that we're gonna be able to use in many different ways. So we're gonna add over 700 square feet. We've got this alcove that we can use for small entertainer, for a speaker, for refreshments at intermission. I know some of you have been there, that we just use a side table, like one of the tables you're sitting at, it's against the wall, it's not very friendly. And of course, we will have ADA accessible bathrooms, but we have to give up our nice roomy lobby, office, the town player's office for the bathrooms. So that's where they're gonna go. We have the floor plan to remind you what that looks like. And then what we're thinking, the potting shed, the best use of that is 400 square feet will be our new office on the campus and also for storage. And then when the town gave us access to the potting shed, we had originally thought that that would be used for a black box theater, rehearsal space, opportunity to do kids programs and kids education. And we thought about it, and we thought about it, and we said, you know, we've got this great idea, but we need some advice. So we reached out to a company called Theater Projects in South Norwalk. They are professional theater designers. They are not architects, they're theater designers. They're currently working on the Western End Theater in New York City. They worked on the Disney Theater in Los Angeles. They're globally known. And I called them and I said, look, we got this project. We're in your backyard. We're a community theater. It's a wonderful historic location in Waveney Park. Would you come talk to us and give us some ideas? So they did. And we had a charrette, so a planning session with this group. And they came back to us with a campus plan for how we could best utilize the theater and all of the buildings. And that made us rethink what we originally had talked to you all in the town about, in terms of using the potting shed as our black box theater. They turned around and they looked at our plans. So, you know, when you're walking into the courtyard, there's a building right in front of you. That overlooks the Sledding Hill and Anderson Pond. Right, so I've got a photograph there. And they turned around and said, that's 600 square feet. Wouldn't that make a wonderful space? So we revised our plans, we revised our cost estimates and the project scope of what we wanted to fundraise for at this time. We said, that's the building that should be turned into an education center. And if we, when we had the structural engineer look at the building and said, building solid, this could work, don't need to change the roof, it's got a nice new slate roof. Put windows on the back of that building. Put a deck, small deck on the back of that building. And wouldn't that be spectacular to take advantage of the view that's right there, right now is blocked by this building. And it would be spectacular for kids to use, great setting. We would put, they spec'd out for us, these consultants, the lighting equipment, we should have the sound equipment, broadcasting equipment, so that we could really do not only acting classes with students, but we could do technical theater on state-of-the-art equipment. I'm psyched about that because I'm the tech theater geek, and we need to have the right equipment to attract the kids on computer-based digital equipment that they could actually make use of and could build chops on and use them going forward in their lives. It's just a great experience. So that's kind of the scope that we're coming to the community with to fundraise is the lobby, ADA bathrooms, office and the potting shed, and this wonderful education center, which we're happy to consider with major donation. So that's the scope of what we're doing. I took a couple of pictures with the model that we have, just so that you get a sense of before and after what our current campus looks like, and then positioning the model overlooking the Sledding Hill and Anderson Pond.
Patricia, where are you relative to shovel going into the ground and working towards starting?
Right, so I have an outline of a plan that Tiger and I sketched out, but it's obviously dependent upon having funding, because we can't really go out to bid. Well, we can go out to bid to a certain extent, but we can't actually break ground without all of the funding.
Right.
So the combined project right now, and that you have this in your package there. It's on page 11, is about 1.9 million for the two buildings. Between the town and the town's $500,000, the money already set aside for the pub, for the bathrooms from the building project from 2019, plus the money that we already have raised, either in our savings or through fundraising that we're doing. We basically are left having to raise $1 million out of the 1.9.
Say that one more time. You
We have to raise $1 million.
million. Okay, all right.
So we, of the 1.9, we basically have about 900,000 between the town's funds and town players.
Have to raise more money.
We have
Okay.
to raise $1 million. We have written a grant to the state of Connecticut. It's called the Good to Great Grant 2.0, which is a capital grant. The maximum you could ask for was $500,000. I'm not proud, that's what we asked for.
Right.
We will find out mid-June. So that would cut the need, the fundraising goal by half. But
Sure.
they could give us nothing. So our goal right now is $1 million on top of what we already have. And we're actively in the so-called silent campaign, which isn't too silent if I'm talking about it in Parks and Rec meeting, but there we are. That's what we're about and what we're at.
Okay.
But we're making good progress. We've gotten good response from folks we talked to in town, and we'll hear more about it as we go along, but that's where we're at. So from a schedule perspective, we're going to continue the fundraising, and we have a design for the lobby with structural elements in place. That's done. We have to now do the same for the education center and the annex. So that's our next step with the architects. Then ideally between September and October is when we would consider going out to bid.
Okay.
But it is predicated on getting the funding.
Okay. Are you planning any fundraisers, any galas, any cocktails, any events to
Some more,
community events?
not community events so much as more cocktail parties at some donors' homes that have offered to do that. So
Okay.
we will get to that point of doing events at the theater, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
And let me know if you'd like to do one. I should have let you know. Yes.
Is the plan to do the renovations that you're talking about in stages? Or I know you have to wait for money, but
Right.
let's
So
say you're
worst
getting money.
case, if you will, we will work on the lobby and the bathrooms.
Yeah.
If we don't get the rest for the education center, we can work on that later, but I'm going to continue to be optimistic. Because I think it's just such a good plan. And certainly it would have to be more efficient and economical if we do it all at the same time.
Right.
And I think that Tiger, the town has funded, separate from all of this that I just talked about, the town has funded public restrooms adjacent to the sledding hill and has funded the restoration of the cottage. And Keith Simpson has been retained, as I put in here, to do the landscaping, Keith and his partner to do the landscaping of the courtyard. So we've got the elements that we need, and we've got a very strong team. So I think we can move forward, and all of that can be done if we don't and maybe we can do part of the conversion of the annex, and then we do the systems inside later. So we will work out the stages. The other thing I should note is, if we were to start today or whenever we start on the lobby project, we are still able to put on productions in the theater because we can use our side entrance, which has a patio and a ramp to it. We can still get into the theater and access the old bathrooms in the old lobby. So we can still, we won't have to be closed, which will be really helpful.
Good to know. Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
so I thank you for the opportunity, and I definitely want to make this an annual event, just to make sure we've got the right email so I can come when you want me to be here.
Exactly. Let's go. Any questions for Patricia from our members of the commission? Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for the outstanding work you guys are doing. Cross our fingers that this will.
Sorry to cut you off. But do you think this is a good idea? You know?
I
Yes,
do,
yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's
I
great.
think it's the last, not the last, but it is a significant piece of footprint in Waveney that's really not finished.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think getting it cleaned up, putting the bows on it, I think it's just gonna be spectacular. for the park.
Yeah.
My wife and I were at a production earlier last year, and we both, we need something big time. It's anyway.
Right, and that was the nice thing about the consultants is they gave us, a multi-phase plan, which would include ideas for upgrading the theater proper. Right now, we're not there yet. So I think it was good to reach out to somebody that has the talks and does this for a living professionally, because they could give us some solid advice. And I think a clear roadmap for what we need to do.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, is Hillary here?
Hillary's on. She just needs to,
Oh, she is.
on mute. There we go.
Okay, hi. Sorry, I could not be there in person, but I was just there last month. So, but I wanted to just come back with a more formalized proposal for the Waveney Arts Festival that I had spoken about a little bit last week. And I have a one sheet here, which I don't think I can share, but I will email it to all of you or email it to Bea and George and they can share it. But I'll just go through sort of the top points of that and then see if there are any questions. So we are proposing a 2-day arts festival in the park. Proposed dates are Saturday and Sunday, September 30th and October 1st, with alternate dates of October 7th and 8th. The arts festival would be both days from 10 to 4. So basically, we'd like to host an arts festival that would coincide with our member show, which is sort of our biggest art exhibit of the year that really kicks off our season and takes place, opens earlier in September and is open for about a month. This would be a free community event, just open to everybody to come and see artist demonstrations, performances, live music, some workshops, in addition to the exhibition and sale of painting, sculpture, jewelry, ceramics by the artists who are participating, in addition to the artists who are showcased in our member show. So we would have approximately 40 artists exhibiting in 10 by 10 foot display spaces that would be just in the vicinity of the Carriage Barn and sort of going up towards the Powerhouse Theater. We would need to have, with permission from you, to close that part of the road that comes sort of down the hill towards the Carriage Barn and Theater, so that that would be closed to traffic, and we would, use those spaces to have these 10 by 10 booths and tents set up. We would anticipate that the attendance would be about 75 people at all times, including, artists, volunteers, helpers, and then probably about 100 guests per hour, with people staying for about an hour. So, I think it would be very much controlled in terms of the number of attendants. There would be a jurying process in terms of curating the participants and the artists. So, this would not just be open to anyone and everyone who, pays the fee to participate. There would be a selection process. And we are working with someone who's run art fairs like this at Art Basel and in Miami, so is very experienced with this kind of thing. The artists would pay a fee to the Carriage Barn, and they would be responsible for sort of setting up and breaking down. They'd all sign liability release forms with us. So, this would be a form of fundraiser for the Carriage Barn through the fees that the artist pays. we would file an event permit and provide an insurance rider to the town of New Canaan, as we do for all the events that we do at the Carriage Barn. And I've already discussed that with Tucker, and she said, next step would be to get permission on your end, and then we'll sort of move forward with those other steps with the town. Carriage Barn would also provide, we would produce directional signage for attendees and regarding parking, to have throughout the park, and happy to work with you or work with John on, approving those. The restrooms in the Carriage Barn would be available both days to attendees. We have our dumpster behind the Carriage Barn that, any garbage or anything after the event, would all be placed in there. So if I would love to answer any questions, but as I said last time, many towns around us do have similar kind of art in the park festivals like this that are really just a wonderful community thing, and just something I really, we've sort of envisioned happening in Waveney and surrounding the Carriage Barn for a few years. So would love to make it happen.
Hillary, I think the idea is fantastic. We have run into a problem. There's a wedding on September 30th.
Okay.
And so is there an alternative? Does 10/7, 10/8 work?
10/7, there's a wedding both days.
Mhm.
And 10/8. The only weekends that are available would be, right now, would be August 26th and 27th.
Uh-huh.
September 2nd and 3rd, that happens to be Labor Day weekend. And then November 11th and 12th, which is also a holiday weekend, being Veterans Day,
Hmm.
celebrated on Friday, the 10th.
Yeah.
Those are weekends from August on.
So the conflict is on September the 30th.
September the 30th, there's a wedding.
What time of day is the wedding?
It starts in the morning and goes for 10 hours, so.
Okay, so it's the whole.
But-
It's all day, yeah, that's the problem.
Because the issue I think is the parking, or are there other issues? Because I know we've had like big openings at the Carriage Barn that have coincided with big events at the, at Waveney. And, we've hired police officers to sort of direct and assist with the parking. If we looked into having people park at the high school and, walking over, is that something that could
The problem we run into.
alleviate the issue?
The problem we run into with that is it is a public park. So by having two events at once with, 160 people coming to the wedding, we can't guarantee the wedding, which we booked and sold to them, will have enough parking.
So, but if we have the attendees to the Arts Festival park down by the high school, would that not?
Our history shows that doesn't work. People don't listen. They just say, I'm just driving up through, and then they just pull into the parking lot.
Most likely it'll be a sporting event as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just too many people in that very small area. You're also taking up the other parking with the tents of the vendors. So that's the problem there.
Hillary, I understand if the Sundays work, October 1st works. And October 8th works. Can you do this in a one-day
No.
event?
October 8th doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
If you're looking for one day event.
She wants to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. She wants to.
Yeah, and my understanding is with a lot of the artists who participate in these things, for it to be sort of worth their while, it really needs to be 2 days. So, we could, I think that would,
That work? You said August 26, 27.
26,
Is that
27,
too
second,
soon
third.
for you?
That's a month earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Hillary, can you pull this off in August 26th, 27th, or September 2nd, September 3rd?
September, sorry, let me just,
September 2nd, September 3rd, that's Labor Day weekend, just so you know.
right. I mean, our exhibit would not be open yet at that point, which doesn't mean, it absolutely can't happen, but, September 2nd, 3rd, okay, so what did you say was and the other weekend was the one before it, the last weekend of August?
Yes,
Yes.
26th, 27th.
Right, okay,
And then you could go into November, but you know what the weather can do mid-November.
yeah, I don't think that's ideal. Okay, what if the hours were adjusted? I mean, when you say all day, I know the guests aren't gonna be there all day, it's sort of set up and stuff like that. Do you have a sense on either of those Saturdays, like when?
I'm sorry, did you say in the 26th?
Um,
That there is an event at the Powerhouse, so you wouldn't be able to use that in the morning of the 26th.
Well, we have, for parking, if the tents are gonna, Hillary, it's Patricia, that we
Yeah.
have that week, those 2 weekends, we're doing the Fantastics. So.
Okay.
it would be Probably a problem to have tents in that parking area. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a challenge, that's all. But
right.
it would- your event would be done by 4 o'clock and cleaned up by 5, and,
Yeah,
They want to leave their tent Saturday night.
right, right.
Well, the suggestion I have, as much as this is a great event and everything, is
Mhm.
we, going forward to next spring or even next fall, we look now before the calendar fills up. People are booking weddings out there and everything else, but we could then block off a wedding or a weekend.
Right.
Right.
You know, it's prime wedding weekend time in September, and we are charged with renting the house to help recoup some of the costs of all the work.
Mhm.
that's from there.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
right.
get off for other things.
So
It's the post-prom.
what if we were, and I will sort of go back and evaluate, get feedback again on doing 1 day versus 2, just for this fall, because I think, so if we were to stick with that first weekend and maybe just did the Sunday, October 1st, because it sounds like that was clear in terms of weddings.
Yep.
And then looked, maybe did something on a smaller scale to just sort of get it established, but then, like you said, look to the spring and get a weekend on the calendar very, like now. So, we know that we have it blocked off. Does that seem feasible?
Thank you. That's a question.
The question is directed this to John, no mind. Would Blackham Community Center be available and appropriate for what Hillary wants to do?
I think since she has her, correct me if I'm wrong, Hillary, she has her art exhibit going on, so that's why they want to be over there. So that you see the carriage barn and the artists.
Yeah, I think we would really like it to be sort of in that carriage barn vicinity and sort of cross over into what's happening in the gallery as well.
Sports here as well.
I'm sorry.
Sports going on in here, there would be parking.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Hillary, would you be okay with on Sunday, October 1st? And then the size and the scale can obviously be of your choosing.
That's what I'm proposing is, maybe, if we can do it October 1st, I think it would be as a 1-day event. It's going to be smaller than what we're hoping to do going forward, but I would love the opportunity to, do it for the 1 day and then look at spring dates or, a time of year, or at least far out ahead enough that we can sort of get it on the calendar and block out a 2-day event. Because I think these kinds of things, to get the really, quality artists who really, to get them on board, I think a lot of them really want to do a 2-day. But I think, for just doing something this fall, if we can, move ahead with October 1st, I think that would be great. And then we can, see where we go from there.
Sure.
Do you, or John, it sounds like you're saying spring is going to be more feasible than a fall date, just in general, in terms of weddings and other events?
Not necessarily. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
that if we go further out. Where
Right,
we can block off a weekend, we're already taking, people have booked for the following year.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we still have to look at the calendar, and I don't have it in front of me.
Jane just asked the question, is parking at the Steve Banker Pool an option?
Right, too far away, I don't think they'll park there,
Okay,
Yeah.
The only other problem with this is they want to sell things in the park. That requires other bodies for approval, so if you were to approve anything, it'd have to be contingent on going through other town bodies.
correct. You have to have the special permit. Correct.
right.
And I think-
Yeah, and yeah, I've discussed that with Tucker and we will figure that out. She wanted me to get Parks and Rec approval first, and then we will get, sign off on that as a sort of special one-time event.
Okay. Is there any, Tim?
Yes, sir. Hillary, you may have covered this at the last meeting, but is there any kind of overarching theme of the artwork, or just something that you understand is the general idea of the different displays?
Not a theme, but as I said, it would be juried by a few people, including, a gallerist that we've worked with who, has experience with this and runs a gallery in New York and has run art fairs like this in other cities. And, we would work together with him to really, we don't want this to be like it's going to be real established artists, but it would be a variety of different things, from painting, fine art, photography, ceramics. So there's not a theme, but it would all be kind of at the level of, the kind of thing that we have in the gallery. So.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commission members?
Well, if it rolled over to October the 2nd, I know it's Monday, but some of us, Monday is another Saturday. You know? Is that helpful or no?
I don't think that's, I think, some of these people have, it's really just their weekends that they're able to do this because of all the kind of work that goes into it, whether it's traveling and setting up, and they have, people helping them that can only really do it on the weekends. So, yeah, I think, it does need to be a Saturday, Sunday, but I mean, I do think the 1 day thing is definitely, a good option, at least for the first time.
Right.
And then what would be the process for so should John and I just work on kind of targeting that date for next spring or next fall and getting that on the calendar?
Tonight, we'll hopefully put it to a motion, approve the October. And then once you have dates for next year, you'll need to come back to us for approval on that.
Okay,
Okay, so once you have, sorry,
You can talk to John.
Oh,
about
absolutely.
that, and they can nail down. what date
Absolutely.
they wanna
Right.
talk Without
Right.
having.
Definitely.
approval, right?
Yeah, let's get a
Yeah.
date and then.
Exactly.
right, exactly. All right, there's a motion to approve these art festival on Sunday, October 1st. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Jake, thank you. Second. Francesca, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed?
Gene, we just need to.
Gene, you're in favor?
He put his hand
Yes.
down.
Okay. All right, Hillary, thank you so much.
okay, thank you.
And I just, sorry that we got a logistical area, but hopefully this will be a good start.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Great,
Sounds great.
thank you.
Okay, bye.
Next on the list is Waveney Park update, Susan and Tim.
So I'll start it off. I have some sort of basic information about Waving Park being that is a colossal part among our parks and an equal part of our town. So I've got some basic facts and trivia here that is courtesy of the Parks and Recreation Department. Acreage. So Waving Park is 350 acres approximately in size. Wouldn't know that, but that's a big trivia fact I thought. There is one full-size baseball field, 4 softball fields, a large grass area for soccer fields, and this spring there are 5 in total. Right, the Steve Danko Pool, formerly known as the Waving Pool, as many of you know, I know has both a main pool and a kiddie pool with a concession stand. Last summer there was a staffing shortage that on Tuesdays caused the Danko Pool to need a food truck just on Tuesdays, which I never saw as a member there. But this year, we're told that there's not a shortage, so it will be full apple cart for when the pool is open. So that's good. There are 5 paddle courts, lodge, Spencer's Run, dog park. Sue will cover that. There are adult programs that run out of the Lapham Community Center. We are, right? Waving House does rentals and weddings, as we know. So the walled garden is maintained by the town and the garden club and is used for weddings. It also houses the recreation offices upstairs. We have the Carriage Barn Art Center, which is owned by the town and leased sort of right to the Carriage Barn. The Powerhouse Theater we just heard about, that's town owned and leased to the town players. Waving Park has 2 full-size artificial turf fields, 1 small turf field, 7 tennis courts, track and soccer fields on Farm Road. Those are part of Waving Park, even though it looks like it's part of the high school campus. Extensive walking trails, as you all know. And the Parks and Recreation Department, which has been combined for only about a year now, also runs many programs in Waving Park, summer camp, popular, Halloween events, breakfast with Santa. And they also do a fantastic job, of course, with family 4th of July celebration. Cutting grass, helping with maintenance for that. Everyone has been there. It's blown away by that every time I go to it. Basic signage, which you see when you come into the park from Lapham Road, is dogs must be on leash, except for Spencer's Park, except for Spencer's dog run, and that's for the town ordinance. The park is open at sunrise and closes at sunset, except for special events like the Waving House, Powerhouse, Carriage Barn, and it has with softball fields and turf fields. So quite a lot going on there, but thanks for the department for all the information, and that's sort of a big roundup 101 on
Right.
what goes on later.
Thank you.
Nice.
Any questions? for you?
Yeah, you mentioned tennis courts. Do you refer to the high school tennis courts?
We refer to them as high school tennis courts
Yeah.
because they seem like they're at the high school, but they're actually in park, on park property.
Is that right?
Yeah, and along with the track and the turf fields and route.
Really?
It's all part of the Latin estate.
No, I get that, but
Any questions? for
the
Tim?
men still want to play tennis on those courts.
Just
There's
to
the-
look at it, such as run too, there's 411 New Canaan members. And there's 531 non-New Canaan members. I spoke with, Barbara Scott, who is sort of the president of the group that runs it. And she said that they really don't have a way of really tracking the use. They are looking into and hope to maybe, apparently, there is still a trust that established Spencer's Run. And they're gonna look in and see if there's any money there to be able to do a different system. They don't know what yet, but so that they'd be able to track usage, they really, there's a way for locks now, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for them to be able to track the numbers of people, so that's something they're looking at. They are thrilled with the new grass. The half of the, or part of it was closed last year and seeded, and they're thrilled with that. She said, she talked about, how it's been a place for people to make friends, and a lot of people have, their social lives around it. So it's more than just a place for your dogs. I also spoke to Allison Ham about, the animal situation, and, they still have the signs up. They will have the signs up until, later in the summer. They, as far as they know, the
Signs for
coyote,
what?
I'm sorry, for the coyote, which
Oh.
they were reporting.
Oh.
I think we had a report last month that, there was an incident where a coyote basically escorted someone and their dog away, and they determined that there was probably, that the coyote was probably nested
Den,
there.
right.
So they have signs up, and those signs will remain, though they don't know of any other incidents, or she doesn't, Allison didn't. Then, she did mention, which I didn't realize, that they're aware that there are bobcats in the park. Yeah, which, I wasn't aware of. And on my own observation, I was happy to see water in the pool on the way over. So it looks lovely, and that's exciting. So that was just the, kind of the update edition.
I have a question for you. Of these, you said, 500 and some odd outsiders and 400 and some odd, New Canaanites. How many dogs on average does one person have? One
Oh,
member?
that's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that.
I know you can't take more than 3, is that right?
That's
I think
rare. That's rare for them to have. more
It's
than-
rare for them to have 3
More than
or
three.
more than 3.
So I would say 1 to 2 is pretty big.
1 to 2.
And I'd say
But,
one
you
more
know-
than anything, you know, just, and that's not scientific, that's just seeing what people walking around.
Okay. Thanks, I was just curious.
Yeah.
That those numbers
So
are big.
is thrilled with it.
Great.
Yeah. With everything she said, of course, there's, like with people, there's occasional little personal incidents, but nothing. Good.
Right.
Major.
Thank you to you both. Any questions? Yeah.
So the bobcats present any danger to anyone who uses the park or not?
Allison did not indicate that they do, she just said that they're there.
They moved into New Canaan. I've seen them in my property,
I have two, never mind.
and, they're here now.
They're big too, that's the, maybe 30-40 pounders.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can do about them.
No,
No, and she didn't say there'd been any incidents to report, but just mention that they exist.
Yeah, unlike coyotes, they're not after small dogs. That's not on their menu. They're on other smaller rodents and things. And birds
Maybe chickens.
and chipmunks, yeah.
any questions for Tim or Susan?
No, thank you.
Thank you to both, that's a very thorough report, appreciate it. Okay, we will move on to Urban with Jake and Doug.
Thank you. The park is in full swing. Drive by every day. Parking lot's packed, people walking dogs, picnics, you name it, everyone's out there. Foliage is great right now. At nighttime and sun setting, you drive by, there's both family photo shoots going on. So it's really great. Everyone's using the park. Little garden, the garden club update here. They're waiting on a design for the boardwalk to be completed, and then they'll return to the Parks and Rec Commission for approval. Once they finalize that,
A boardwalk?
to redo.
Down in the lower section of the trail, there's a big section of wetlands.
Yeah.
Oh, you went down to the gazebo?
No. If you were walking south from the gazebo, there's a big corner of the park there that doesn't have any trail in it because it's all wetlands.
Yeah,
So they'll
yeah.
go in
And
there,
they're gonna put one there.
that's a proposal.
Judy Neville spoke to us about that a couple years ago.
Okay,
Yeah, so they're finalizing
They
that,
can do that?
none of them back with.
that's
They'll
great.
get proper approval for wetlands.
Sorry,
Do you know
who's they?
when that,
I-
we're on the
I'm just-
sunrise,
I don't, I know that they're still working on the design and all that,
that's
so,
exciting.
yeah, once I hear something, I'll let everyone know.
Who's the they?
It's the garden club.
Yeah, the garden club spearheaded the effort and it's in the town budget.
And the garden club will have their inaugural Gardens in Bloom garden tour on June 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll be in the Waveney Gardens. They will also be in Irwin, and then they will have a tour with 4 private gardens, and their tickets will be available online at New Canaan Garden Club website. Other than that, part's great, and it's getting a lot of use, so it's good.
Cool.
Any questions for Jake or Doug?
Question, in the new trail, do we know if that will be that kind of rubberized surface like the rest of the trails are in?
Yeah.
That's great.
Except the boardwalk part of it.
Right.
Yeah, that will have to be
Yeah. Boardwalk.
probably, yeah. I'm not sure what type of material, but
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Kiwanis and Mill Pond. There's some final details being put on that, so we're gonna postpone those reports to June. Okay, I talked to Keith and Francesca about that, so we'll be postponing those to June. Me and the Dixon Park, Jake, you're up again, and Steve.
I'll take it,
Okay.
just have the limelight. So Dixon, went by there actually this morning, and it looks great. It's for those that don't know it, it's on White Street, it's kind of a neighborhood park. There is a sign that you can park on the street for up to 3 hours, which I think would give people plenty of time to enjoy the park. And I kind of combed around the perimeter, everything looks great. No evidence of any poison ivy or anything, so no concerns for the kids. So I don't have much else to report there other than it looks fantastic. So hopefully it's getting used. Nobody's there. I was there probably around 9:15 or so, but I suspect the neighborhood does stop by and use it quite a bit. Oh, perfect. Yeah, there's benches to sit on and relax. It was nice. I mean, I've driven through there, but never spent much time, and maybe should think twice about that.
The equipment's pretty up to date.
Yeah, I think it was redone.
a couple years ago, we
Yeah.
redid it, 2 or 3 years
It,
ago.
it definitely needed it, and now it
Yes.
just looks great. I mean, it really can't say enough about it for the little neighborhood park. the
So
good-
green, I know that.
What's that?
So green,
I-
looks so loud.
Drive through, stop by, it's great, have your lunch there if you can. So I know that from years past, it certainly needed a facelift and it got it, it looks great, so kudos to the team. Mead Park, you don't have to listen to me, just go drive by any part of the day, it's just humming. From fishing to picnics to pickleball, apple cart, my children love the playground. And, driving through occasionally as we do, I mean, I'm not seeing any evidence that in years past, people complain about the garbage by the playground. I haven't seen any evidence that, I don't know if anybody's heard feedback that it's overflowing or anything. It's been great.
Gene might want to speak about that.
Okay. Gene?
Well, the garbage doesn't get there, but it seems that the efforts to, it's a subjective thing. There's definitely, when you can go there, when it's been busy, and if it hasn't been cleaned for that day, there is garbage there, and it's subjective as to whether it's too much or not. Again, I've reported this in the past, that a part of the problem is that there is all the other places which have garbage cans has someone there at the end of the day to put them in a dumpster, et cetera. So there's no one there actually to patrol it, et cetera. So I would say it's not out of control, but it's something that it could be better, but it's not terrible.
I know
I-
we've talked about it for years. They're part of the issue is, I think folks need to have accountability to pack in, pack out. And so maybe some peer pressure could help with that, but I don't know if you have anything to add to the garbage thing. There's not much to be done really, other than hope people pack in, pack out.
Yeah, everybody will take their litter and one other piece and never be a mess, but.
Well,
Right.
it's,
It's
they
just
don't-
put the Coffee cup down and forget to go back to pick it up.
Right.
they don't do it though. A lot of it comes from the Apple Cart, and I'm not saying they're to blame, et cetera. It's the nature of it. You have a lot of kids there who are running around, and their nannies and their mother or parents give them some stuff, and there's little pieces of wrappers on the ground, and there's the plastic cups on the ground. It's a unique situation than the other parks, and it's very crowded compared for the space compared to any other park. And in fact, they go there and they eat there, and they sit around and they give their kids foods. And I'm not saying that's anything wrong with that, but the nature of that is that the carry in, carry out, some people do that, but a lot of people do not do that.
Right. Is the folks who raise money to redo the playground, is that an organization that's still together? And maybe we can implore them to try to help get the word out,
I think they would be happy to help take that on.
because I remember we had
They can-
issues with dog waste at Irwin, and once people know about it and take some accountability, it gets better.
They are still together. Don't remember when, but we were
Friends of-
fine. And
That's right.
Or
That's right.
supposed to be in work.
Okay, maybe I'll reach out and find those folks and talk to them about that.
I also haven't heard anything about the noise from the baseball teams, the music. I mean, I don't know which baseball team. There were some neighbors that complained last year. It has,
We have not received one complaint.
That's
and I-
awesome.
And I feel the baseball team's doing what's right now.
that's great.
Yeah,
What about complaints about pickleball?
we have not received one complaint,
It's so
and including town hall, from what everything we hear, unless somebody called today, we haven't received one complaint about the noise. So,
Cause I can say when I'm playing tennis there, I mean, it's, you hear that pop, pop, pop.
that's not a complaint.
Come on.
I mean, what is
It's a
it?
different noise. Different noise, but
Train going by every half hour.
I think it helps with the hill behind it, going to the train, and then the hedges going down towards the
Right.
colonnade help.
Yeah.
So I think it just buffers and breaks it up some.
Yeah, by the way, the colonnade is looking great. They, just did a fabulous job of that. There had been a proposal that I talked to Steve Benko with about years ago about putting a cover over the top of the colonnade where there's kind of a little rectangular area. Is that dead or
Yes.
where is that?
At this point in time, yes, it is. We do have money in the budget that, starting in July and some now to replace the tennis shed, for no better terms, try to make it a little bit nicer.
Yep.
But no money.
Yes.
Probably stop.
That's it.
Any questions for Steve?
A couple more items, just so I'm, nice and thorough here. Couple things to note. I know that we, baseball came and talked about the dugout a little while back. We don't have any real updates there, right?
They have put it on hold themselves
Okay.
at this point in time.
Okay. The lights for the tennis courts, are there any updates?
Then
on
we have Musco Lighting, the company that's gonna be replacing them, has received authorization to go, so they're building fixtures.
Great.
Hopefully late summer,
that?
they'll
Okay,
be here to install them for the fall season.
and then when would they turn off?
I think we're required at the very latest 10 o'clock.
Okay,
So probably give us a buffer,
yeah,
probably go 9:30.
okay. And obviously we saw the reports about maybe some updates to parking for pickle being discussed.
There is in the process of making a plan to update the tennis parking up by the tennis courts and the pickleball patio area, improve that whole area. That's also in the budget. So
And if the sidewalk goes in up Richmond Hill, it wouldn't impact coming in and out.
now, the only thing that would affect is that changes the island that's there as you exit the park,
Okay,
but that's day to day. It's not like we close the park down for that work.
great. That's all I have.
I would say that all the trees and the bushes that we planted at the front entrance as well, they looks really good too. Like last year, 2 years ago.
That was part of the beautification league. They did a lot of that work.
Everything
Yeah.
looks good. It's when you come in, it just looks clean.
And we're looking to install irrigation on the island down by the apple cart where the tree is. You know, it looked great when it was
Oh,
put in.
nice.
Unfortunately, every now and then somebody just still decides it's a great place to park their car. So, but
Water fountains we have talked about before, is that something that's being discussed still?
yes, we're still in the
Tennis
front.
courts.
Yes, the tennis
And-
court and Mead Park water fountains, the proposal to replace them is when we do the water main going through the park. One of the problems with that, the park, the water main isn't deep enough to keep the water on to Snack Bar throughout the year. So it freeze up on us, or potentially would freeze up on us. So we winterize it every year, drain out the water line. So with that said, there's money there to replace the water line, and that will be installing new water fountains. And more jug fillers than anything, since most people are carrying some type of a water bottle.
You're holding off on it until we can replace the water line.
Down there, yes, we did put a jug filler on the wall of the apple cart.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And we also threw out lights for the pickleball courts. Is that something that's still being
It's
talked
still
about?
being talked about, it's not in this July 1st budget coming up, I believe it's the following year that it's in there, could be 2 years out, but.
And what would we have to do to speed it along?
Write a check. Well, there would be some approval process for that, to do that, so it's not as simple as writing a check, but right now we
Do you
don't.
know, what it would cost, at least what they're telling you it would cost now? It'll probably be more in 2 years, but
Could be, depends on what you talk about. I've had anything from, it can be done for $10,000 to $150,000.
oh,
Part of the problem would be is you really want focus lights there.
yeah,
Similar to the new lights that are at Dunning, where there's not the spillover, especially in the neighborhood. So
Right.
they focus down and you can have virtually no light spill over about 10 feet away. So that changes the price drastically. So, But
Thank you.
since we don't have any money, we really haven't, you know, those are ballpark numbers. You know, somebody saying, I can do it for 10 grand. And the lighting company that's replacing the lights on the tennis court is saying you should plan on 150,000 to do it right.
one last question for you. The grassy area that is on either side of the stone steps that go up to the tennis courts from the access road at the exit part. That's like, it gets so overgrown and kind of with the poison ivy and stuff. Is
Next to the stairs going up to the tennis courts, is that where you're talking about?
Yeah.
We've treated it for poison ivy, you know, so that used to have some low growing shrubs in there, and the trees, now that they're so big, completely shade the area, so that's
Okay.
part of the problem.
I would just suggest that it get cleaned up maybe 3 times a year because it gets really overgrown and neglected looking.
Maybe pack us in.
Any other questions for Steve or Jake?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. John?
Okay, well, now that everybody's talking about everything, I don't know exactly, but really, so our new software is going along great. Just so you know, we brought in, well, yesterday, we brought in over $420,000 worth of stuff. Now, that's anything from pool permits to programs to summer camps. So it and memberships, tennis court memberships, etc. So and overall, it's going very well. Bee probably will hit me because she gets all the brunt of everybody calling up. They can't register themselves and things like that, but you know, we're getting there. We're still working with 2 systems, so it will take a little bit of time. With that, you know, tennis courts are open, pickleball is still open. We are going to require people to scan their permit to get in when we have a tennis attendant there. And including the, you know, for the people that are guest fees, stuff like that. So we are going to be a little bit more careful on who just can walk out on the court. So please pass the word to anybody that, please go to the tennis hub when somebody's there.
And the, these will be credit card only. You won't.
Credit card only, there's no cash, no checks. So, with that said, pickleball will be closed, weather permitting, Monday and Tuesday. We have some warranty work on the courts themselves. We blemishes for better than anything else, but some places where it's down to the concrete, and we don't want to let it go without getting it treated and painted right. So
Only this coming Monday and Tuesday?
if the weather permits, yes.
I got you.
So, and we do have to close, even though we're only doing work on 2 of the courts, we have to close all 5 of them because other would take us 1 ball to roll across. So we were able to finally open the courts, the tennis courts, May 6th, a week after I'd like to, but the 4 1/4 inches of rain we received over the weekend just finished that off that week, but they're up and running, going well. We've been working on the family fourth, planning summer camps, and as you said, the pool has water in it. Steve's been doing a lot of work over there, getting that going. Pops in the Park is June 10th, right around the corner. So, and then the only last thing is received a proposal to put a small awning down one at Apple Park, down at Mead Park, for where everybody waits in line to get their food. It would blend in with the building, it'd be up year round, metal frame, properly done. And then we'd also be looking to do a similar one at the pool. For the same basic reasons, it keeps people in the line, one thing, but it also, lets them stand there in the shade instead of. So,
That's a good idea.
yep, the one down at Mead Park, that being helped sponsored by the Apple Park. And so. Other than that,
Good stuff.
anybody have any questions?
John, think?
John, can we have a update on the recent Bristol Park vandalism? Has that all been rectified, if that's the right word?
I think it's the right word. Yeah, we did have some vandalism, not just in Bristol Park. We had a little bit in Mead Park. They actually melted part of one of the slides going down. We're waiting for the new piece to come in. We'll replace it. Since that happened, we haven't had any more vandalism recently. So there have been some cameras installed. And we'll go from there. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Questions for John?
The pool, can you give me a more fulsome status on the pool?
we've done a lot of work over the winter, and it's been a perfect winter to do it. So things like the sand has been replaced in the filters. First time it's been done in 20 years. So it was time. That's more of a process than just taking sand out and putting it new. We had to put epoxy in the inside of the filters. We're replacing the pump. We found a few leaks in the pool. They've been corrected. Steve, I'm trying to think what else offhand, but what we're trying to do is take a 20-year-old pool and make sure that it stays up and working properly. Like last year, the automatic feed was down in the main pool. So that meant we had to manually fill it up every day. That's being replaced. The automatic chlorinator updates, just to keep everything in good shape.
And then, do we heat the water, and how do we heat water if we do?
We do heat water. We have separate propane heaters for the big pools. They're individual pools. They run separately. So each one has heaters to run it.
Big pool has 2 and big pool.
Gotcha.
2 big heaters for a big pool, and a small one.
Water would be pretty new, right?
When they talk about putting natural gas in to, that area.
Yeah.
Would we then replace the propane tanks? Is that the idea?
We would remove the propane tanks and we would go to natural gas. The heaters can be converted.
Yeah, right.
So we would. Yep.
Questions for John? Busy time?
Very
Thank
busy
you.
time, but
You and
it's
your-
also a nice time.
Yeah.
You take a day like today, it's tough to hang out with B for more than a few minutes at a time.
That's funny. Okay. I really don't have anything to report. Our next meeting is June. Let's just see here. I'm trying to work that one off my calendar. I believe it is June 14th, like right? June 14th. Okay. So we will show you out there. We'll look forward to the update in Kiwanis and Mill Pond. And appreciate everybody's time. Is there a motion to adjourn? Steve, second, Keith, all those in favor? So carried. Great, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of the towers. I was traveling with great people. I had